Dude, I didn't do anything for like a month.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Steve, man, Austin, Texas, man, you're back in action over there, and it's not too far from home, man. How many pro Steve Garcia fans are going to be in the crowd?
Dude, there's gonna be a lot, dude. I got a ton of people going. I got a lot of family in Texas, dude. So I've been hit up by a ton of people. They're just trying to figure out. It's funny because like back in the day, you're fighting locals and they're like, "Hey man, like, do you selling tickets?" And I'm like, "Nah, man, we ain't at that point anymore, bro." I was like, "You're gonna have to go hit up Ticketmaster and go that way out." But yeah, man, I'm gonna have a lot of support out there. I'm super excited.
Looking back at those days, man, where you had to like sell tickets, I think there's no other sport out there where you have to sell tickets to your own sporting event. But remember those days? What was it
Yep.
like back then?
It's awful. It was awful in the sense that you had to meet people. It's awful that you had to keep track of it. You have to. It's awful that you have to collect the money. Luckily, like my pops, he was like he came in clutch, man. My dad really did come in clutch, and he really took that over because it actually can become very overwhelming. And it's not to say like we don't appreciate like the support because ultimately like we need people to come out to the events and see obviously what we're doing, but man, it definitely helps when you have a big support system and they all just want to do it. They want to help you out and everything like that. So it's not that we want to take it for granted, but as a fighter, to have that on top of training and all the other weight cutting and everything else, man, it becomes like a big load. So hopefully, these other guys, they have a, what do you call it? Like some sort of manager or support that will like do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, your dad seems like he's been involved the whole ride, man. How has it been just having someone like that next to you, win, lose, or draw?
Ultimately, I probably don't trust anybody more than my dad, really. You know what I mean? I mean, don't you can tell my wife. My wife, knows how close me and my dad are, and I love her and I trust her, more too. It's not that. It's just my dad's been there, and I probably put my dad in situations that dad shouldn't see. I've really put him in. I know me being a dad now, like there's certain things that I wouldn't want to see like my son go through. And I put my dad through those. So like I give him so much respect, so much props. He's been with me since day one. And man, dude, it's been a long time, since I was 15 years old, you know, fighting in these rinky dink, crazy not even arenas, dude. Like I fought on dirt when we're warming up and literally like bullpen-ish deals with tarp on the floor and stuff. He's been with me since the start, and I'm blessed, man. And I told him I was like, you're gonna be with me the rest of the way. He went and did everything he could to help me, and he's my strength and conditioning coach too. So, man, I'm blessed to have a good dad.
Did you ever go across the border and fight in Mexico?
They tried, dude. They tried so
Okay.
hard, bro. And honestly, I almost did one time, but then there was like the organization that we're fighting for was like, or they were trying to get me to fight for was it's a little sketchy. You know what I mean? So, if UFC wants me to go to Mexico, let's go. You know what I mean? But when they're trying to find just anybody to go fight in Juarez, Mexico, and I'm like, bro, like you don't even want to step foot in Juarez, Mexico nowadays. You know what I mean? You got to be
Yeah.
careful. You gotta be careful these days. And I'm not trying to hate on them. I'm just saying like, things get dangerous sometimes. And I love everybody out there, but damn, like I want to make sure I'm good here. I want to be safe and I don't want to just jeopardize, just because I want to go fight down there.
Yeah, if you know, you know, because I grew up around Paisas, and like they would tell me like what Mexico really is like. You know, what I mean, in certain
Yeah.
areas, not every place, but yeah. And I was talking with Jared Gordon, and he said he fought in Mexico in this tournament, and the winner supposedly won 100K. He never got the money.
No, dude. And then I had buddies from that were like born and raised in Juarez, Mexico that I trained with, and he's like, dude, I don't know, bro. Like, you can try. He says, go ahead and fight. He says, he's like, I'm from there and I won't fight there. I was like, well, you're really convincing me. So I was like, all right, it didn't happen. But I
Yeah.
did have buddies that go down there and they seemed that, it went well for them. So I'm happy for them. But, I don't know. Just, man, this is my, like, my life, my career. You know what I mean? I really take it serious and I want to make sure, like, it's, uh, it's safe to go out and fight and compete in arenas like that.
Well, February, that's the next Mexico card from what I heard. I've heard fighters
Oh,
already talking about them getting ready for that card.
no way. Okay.
Yeah.
I- I'm
So,
I'm I'm in. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
in.
there you go. Yeah.
February, March. Let's go.
Let's
Let
go.
it go,
Let's go.
bro.
But before that, man, you got to face this young prospect, Costa. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on him and the matchup?
He's. I feel like he's good everywhere, but I don't know if there's anything that really, really stands out. I mean, I'd probably say he's more of a striker than anything. I've seen him go for some takedowns, and stuff like that. But I'd say he probably fortes his striking. Another southpaw, So we got that. Kid seems hungry. He seems ready to go. He's gonna be a challenge, man. But I, I don't necessarily know if he's quite ready. You know what I mean? Whereas I've been tested. I've been tested, and I've been down. I've been up. I've tore it up in there just from start to finish. I've had to win my way back. I've had to claw my way back. I don't know if he's been through those, and I'm not saying that those are like amazing things to go do. I've had that veteran experience, and I hope I can use that to my advantage on top of obviously my skill set, but um, I think I can get it done for sure, no doubt about it.
Yeah, your last two opponents that you faced off against, they're more grapplers, but they tested their striking against you and made big
Sure, yeah,
mistakes on the feet, right? And you got to put
yeah.
them away. Him, I think he's more of a striker. So, do you feel like you get to maybe show more of your tools on the feet because he is more of a striker?
I'm not too sure, man. Like we have our game plan set, you know what I mean, and you guys gonna get to see it. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good time. But I think that that's probably where he would want to keep it. I don't care where the fight goes really. Like I'm good striking, grappling, wrestling, whatever. You can pick your poison with me, and I'm gonna find a way to win. But yeah, man, I think that we'll be able to display some striking, no doubt about it, for sure. I do think that I hit harder. Like I mean, from my fights, I mean, I lay it on you, and he'll hit you, and people are smiling and stuff. So I think obviously, and getting punched in the face is never enjoyable, but I know when I hit you, it hurts really bad, and people tend to fall. So we're gonna see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you were supposed to fight Sean Woodson. I heard you had an incident in training, grappling. Take us through what exactly happened, and how much pain were you in?
Yeah, it was kind of like a 2 day part thing. It was kind of annoying. I should have just listened to myself. But so Tuesday and Thursday nights we have grappling. Wednesday morning we have wrestling. And so like Tuesday night we were grappling. I was going with this really good grappler, and he tried to throw on like a twister, and I fought out of it. I had a little pride in there, but man, he tweaked my back pretty good. And so like the rest of the night, and I have a regimen after that I do on my own. And I was like, dude, I was like, my back's killing me. I'm just gonna try to go rest. I'll wake up in the morning, I'll feel better. Not a big deal. So next morning comes, I don't feel better. I'm like, yeah, man, maybe I should just kind of take it easy. I should just listen to my body. But then like, that ego and my head, I'm like, don't be a punk, bro. Don't be a punk. Just go. And we have like a new wrestling coach, and he's like a Russian guy. So we do 2 hour wrestling practices, and man, dude, like we're like an hour in, and uh one of my buddies, we were just working defenses from a single leg, and my buddy was trying to hit him with the treetop, and he tried to sweep my leg underneath me. I hopped it, and I just my I don't know, my back just didn't like, I don't even know what happened, but I couldn't get my leg down to like uh time it right, I guess. And when I landed like on my back and like my side. And dude, I got stuck for like probably like 20, 30 seconds. I'm like, dude, like I can't like move my back. I can't move my hips. So they drugged me to like the corner of the mats and stuff, and they were like working on me and stuff. And I called my manager like right away, and I was like, hey man, I was like, can we make any sort of way to go to the UFCPI, and maybe they can help me over there. I mean, they're the best, in the business, and they have some of the best guys that can really work on you. So we called them, and then literally the next morning I flew out to Vegas, started working, and they were working on me, and I've never been in so much pain from someone trying to like work on me, and I was sweating on the tables and stuff, and it was super painful. But I was like, "Can you like help me? Just I have 3 weeks left. 3 weeks left. I'm close." And I had three sessions, and every time I try to work, they're like, it keeps tightening back up, keeps tightening back up, and I just couldn't. You couldn't even touch it. I felt like there was like a knife in my back, in my lower back, and I talked to him and I was like, just give it to me like straight, like should I take this fight or not? And they're like, we're not gonna tell you whether you should fight or not. I'm gonna tell you what we think you should do, and you can make the decision. So they're like, more than likely, we don't. Well, we definitely don't want you to spar. We don't want you to wrestle. We don't want you to grapple, and we don't want you to run. And I'm like, well, how the hell am I supposed to cut weight? They're like, you might be able to get away with a stationary bike. That might be your best bet. I was like, okay, so I can't do none of those things. I have 3 weeks left, stationary bike. Okay. And then they're like, well, and on top of that, if you do make it, you're probably going to be in pieces. He says, you're probably not going to perform your best. So I'll let you make the call. I was like, all right, that's all I needed to know, man. Sean Wilson's not a pushover. He's a talented guy, and, crazy stature, all that. And so, what, man, I was like, I don't like to pull out of fights, but I don't want to hinder my performance. I don't want to lose. I don't want to do something stupid that like I don't necessarily need to do. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'll meet him again. And I told him, even after the fight, I messaged him on Instagram. I'm like, hey man, I owe you a fist fight. I was like, if you want it, you can have it. We'll reschedule. And it just didn't happen. But that's like the long story of
Yeah,
what.
yeah, yeah. Well, you go into detail of like making the right decision. That's what I
Yeah,
get out of that. You made the right decision because, like you said, it's your career, man. If you take this fight,
yeah,
what if you tweak your back so bad in the fight that you can't fight for 2, 3 years? We've seen
yeah.
guys get injured and be out for years, and some never come back.
Well, the thing is that we're fighters, and like that's what we feel like. We feel like we need to be tough. We feel like we need to push through things, and we're so in this mindset that we push through the pain and we push through all the adversity and all this stuff, and it's gonna make you stronger and better. And I'm like, yeah, man, like 100%. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but you also need to use your brain and be smart and see from a financial and a business point of view, because this is also a business. This is not just being an ego. Like I'm not just fighting some random guy off the street. This is my career. I got to make sure like I'm winning on my contracts. I'm putting on good performances, and I want to make the most out of my career. So that's what we did, man.
You mentioned a new wrestling coach, Russian guy, but I've seen like videos from Jackson Wink of just guys from like Eastern Europe just coming in and staying in the dorms and training. How much has that helped you elevate your wrestling?
Well, they definitely bring like a different vibe to the mat, really. You know what I mean? Like everything. So like, I guess we're so Americanized. We get so used to just like, all right, we're gonna do this like 10, 15 minute minute warm up. We're gonna probably do a couple techniques, and then we'll probably go hard like the last like 20 minutes of class. Like they don't do that. Like your warm up is literally like 45 minutes. Um, and it was kind of cool. Sometimes when he also reads the room, and if he sees a lot of us are just like we're just tired and whatever, dude, we'll play like soccer, or we'll play like this like form of like rugby. You know what I mean? And he kind of gets like the just like the feeling in the room a lot better, and it's kind of cool to warm up that way too every once in a while. He doesn't do it all the time, but yeah, man, and it's just like drill. We'll drill like a move, and then we're like going live for like 2 or 3 rounds, 2 or 3 minutes. We're doing a single leg dump. All right, he's showing us a single leg dump. He's showing us how different variants of it, and then we have to apply it. And I think that's probably something that a lot of us miss is just like we just want to like, all right, we'll go through the drill, and then we want to go live right away. And it's different. They're like very very focused, specific on certain moves, and they want to make sure it's done right. They want to make sure you're applying it to the day, and hopefully to the rest of your game. You know what I mean? So I can definitely tell like the difference. I do like both sides, because like in ours, like if he's not there, we go live pretty much for 50 minutes straight. Like it's a grind. Like all right, winner stays. We're groups of three. Like winner stays, and it's like king of the circle. You know what I mean? And then it's like we'll switch it up every once in a while. He's like, all right, loser stays. Like figure out a way to win. Like win. And then we start on the cage, and then we work from a single leg or whatever the case is. We work in a deficit. Like we change it up all the time. So I think, I mean, obviously Jackson Wink is just notorious for having great training, the best coaches, and man, I'm blessed to be there.
For sure. And the recovery, was it just physical therapy and rest? Is that what you needed?
Dude, I didn't do anything for like a month. Yeah, like I couldn't do nothing. Like I was walking. Like that. I would walk and I felt like I had a screwdriver in my back. Like it was awful. You know what I mean? And it took me a little bit. I probably did a couple more striking classes because I felt like I could do that better than I could just grapple. Because once I started grappling, I started feeling those muscles being tugged and stuff. So you kind of had to like almost go through the motions, get it out the way, and then finally like I just found a time where I was just comfortable enough to where like I could grapple hard, wrestle hard, and then obviously strike like normal. So just took a minute. Just took
Yeah,
a
for
minute.
sure, man. Rest, I guess that's the most important aspect that a lot of people overlook. I mean, especially fighters, like you said earlier, they're just tough. You're supposed to overcome everything.
Yeah.
Against Costa, man, what do you see? How do you see this? He's never been knocked out. I just looked at it. I was like, damn, he never been knocked out. This
Oh
dude.
wow. That's I mean, I can see that because kid's tough. Like he'll smile at you. He's like, "Oh, dude, that hurt, bro." I'm like, "Well, good, bro, because you got more coming." You know what I mean? That's what I see in my head. I watch these videos. I'm like, "You can smile all you want, bro. You can smile. Like you're gonna see blood in your teeth here soon." I was like, "I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy. Like I promise you, like you will be in pain. If it's 15 minutes, it'll be 15 minutes of hell. Like that's how like in my mind, that's my mindset. Like you might be tough as nails, bro. You might be tough as nails. We'll see like how tough you really are. I don't like from the fights. I can see like he doesn't quit. He goes through the motions, but a lot of times I do see like it kind of favors him. You know what I mean? He has good enough striking. If you honestly stay at his kicking range, which he does pretty well, he will do a lot of damage and he'll have his way. He can kind of conduct himself pretty well. So you either have to be kind of like just a little bit inside of that range, hitting angles on each side, or you just kind of wait out and then you're just kind of waiting. So we'll see. I do know he likes to counter. Um, but yeah, man, that's the joy of what we get to go and see. We get to really get into a fist fight and see who's better. You know what I mean? So I'm super excited to show what I got. You know what I mean? Everybody asks me like, "Hey, bro, you excited for your fight?" I'm like, excited is not the right word to fight. Like, I don't get excited to fight, but I'm ready to fight. You know what I mean? I get excited to show how my abilities. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I've been progressing and stuff like that, and everybody gets to see it. All my hard work. But Cossack, he's gonna have a hell of a night. I promise you. Like it's gonna be like one of those nights where he's like, shit, I don't want too many of those.
Yeah. Every time you fight, man, I'm always trying to tweet out chingazos because I'm trying to get it on the screen when you're fighting. I just want that time. I don't know if I've gotten on there once, but ever since you told me about the chingazos, I like put that out there. So hopefully it gets out there someday.
Yeah, man, we'll make it
uh,
a thing.
yeah. Um, I was talking to somebody about rounds, right? And some people are saying like fighters they shouldn't even have rounds. Like MMA should just be like 15 minutes. That's the fight, no rounds. Do you agree with that?
100%, 100%. I do think like you'll see like a change in the sport if that were to happen. But I personally think if you want to get raw, like I don't like the in betweens because sometimes it can save you. You know what I mean? In a real fist fight, like to the end, like if in the gladiator days, like all right, bro, you're dying or I'm dying. Like who's it gonna be? And I like that mentality a little bit more. Um, but you know what I mean? Like it's a sport, so like in my head, I'm like, I get it. But if you really want the trueness of like combat, I feel there shouldn't be a time or like a
Rounds.
round. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It should
you're
be
right. There are
15 minutes.
guys that get saved. Momentous shit sometimes between rounds,
Yeah,
right? You see guys do that. But if you're in a real fight, if you have someone down, they have no excuse. There's no clapper. There's no like looking at the clock because there's no reason to, right? And it's gonna be a wild fight. Yeah, I kind of agree with all the fighters, man. And one last thing, man, I wanted to ask you about is Bellator. You competed for them 7 times, and
Mhm.
I guess they're being bought by PFL. That's pretty much one less promotion. Is that good for the fighters, man?
Ultimately, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. But when the more people like have options to go and see that are willing to pay fighters, it's always gonna be a good thing. You know what I mean? Like you can't just really have like UFC is obviously the main one. You go to the UFC, that's probably the most money you can probably make. But the problem is that we're so expendable. Like everybody wants to be in the UFC, and people will fight for pennies to be in the UFC. And that's why, like, you don't see fighters go on strike, or you don't see people happen because the next, group of men will step up to fight for. They would fight for 2 and 2 to be on TV in the UFC. To be on the contender series, it's like 5 and 5. You know what I mean? Five to win and 5 to show. Um, and some people are like, "Oh, that's a lot of money," and I'm like, "Well, if you want to compare, sports, you know what I mean? I like when I tell people, I'm like, when I fight in the UFC, like I actually fight in the UFC. But some people like, oh, I fight UFC, and I'm like, no, you don't, dude. You're an MMA fighter. You're training. You're fighting these local promotions. You're not fighting UFC. Like this, that doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? But you hear it all the time. And I like to view being in the UFC, like if you really know what you're talking about, we are the NFL of our sport. We're the MLB of our sport. And the guys that get to go over there in MLB and NFL, they get compensated heavily
Yeah.
because you are a performing athlete that is entertaining, the rest of the world. You know what I mean? It's not like we're just like, in our state. It's like the whole entire world gets to see who we are. And I don't think that we're compensated the way that we should be. So when you look at another organization like going away, it's kind of hard to see that being a good thing. You know what I mean? And honestly, Bellator I think did like a pretty good job as far as like um allowing us to like have options. You know what I mean? Because yeah, you may not be in the UFC. Because honestly, like the contracts never necessarily benefits you per se. Like you're like, oh, I have a 4 or 5 contract. They can cut you in two. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You don't have to go over the 4 fights. They have everything lined up to benefit them, which I understand as a business you got to do. You know what I mean? But when you have another option like Bellator or PFL, they can go those routes. You know what I mean? So I have had a lot of buddies that like were in the UFC and they went, to PFL or they went to Bellator and they found success and they were still able to support their family and do it, in the career path that they chose, which is mixed martial arts, you know. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I guess we're gonna really like see,
Yeah.
and I don't know like what the level of PFL like is. PFL gonna like blow it up to where like they're gonna have this big roster and they're willing to welcome more people on, you know. I think it's just gonna it's like a waiting game, and just see if they're gonna be able to really compete with UFC, uh, and be able to like give more people more jobs and do what we do.
Yeah, it's a major shift, man. We'll see a lot of things play out in 2024, man. But before 2024, before you go to Mexico in February, hopefully you do, December
Yeah,
2nd, you get to go to Austin, Texas, which is damn near, Mexico in
dude,
some
I'm
ways,
pumped.
right?
I'm
It's
so pumped.
crazy, right?
I'm so excited. Yeah. No, dude, I'm super excited, man. Anytime I've ever fought in Texas, I fought in Dallas, early in my career, and dude, they were amazing. They were amazing, and I expect the same energy, and it's gonna be a good time. It's just, I love Texas so much. I mean, I'm a little biased. I do, and I love Albuquerque too. But like, if I didn't live here, that's where I'd be living in Texas. So I definitely like going over there.